Hollywood. It was a land of stars, scandals, and secrets. But behind the silver screen, some of the most powerful players were the fixers, the ones who kept those scandals out of the headlines. Today, we're counting down the top 10 fixers of old Hollywood, the people who kept your favorite stars from falling apart. First up, we have the infamous Eddie Mannix. As the general manager of MGM, Mannix was a man of many talents. Bribery, intimidation, and when necessary, a little elbow grease. He made sure the stars at MGM stayed squeaky clean, at least in the eyes of the public. Whether it was Clark Gable's extramarital affairs, Judy Garland's personal battles, or Jean Harlow's turbulent love life, Mannix was the man who made sure none of it made the papers. With mob connections at his disposal, he wasn't just a fixer. He was the guy you didn't cross. They called him the Iron Fist of MGM, and when Hollywood's biggest names were in trouble, they knew exactly who to call. Mannix didn't just clean up after the stars, he controlled the very image of MGM. Without him, the studio might not have been the powerhouse it was. Working hand in hand with Mannix was Howard Strickling, MGM's publicity mastermind. Strickling wasn't the guy you went to when things got dirty. He was the guy who made sure it never got dirty in the first place. At least not in the public eye. Strickling mastered the art of media manipulation. Joan Crawford, clean as a whistle. Greer Garson, always perfectly poised. Thanks to Strickling's grip on Hollywood's gossip mills, the stars looked perfect, even when the truth was anything but. Strickling and Mannix were the dynamic duo of damage control. If Eddie couldn't buy off a cop or quiet a witness, Strickling would smooth things over with the press. Together, they built a fortress around MGM's stars, aussi Osui, keeping the real Hollywood well hidden. Fred Otash wasn't about pulling strings at a studio. He was the guy on the ground, the one who got his hands dirty. A private investigator by trade, Otash didn't just spy on celebrities. He fixed their problems before they turned into career-ending disasters. Otash had a hand in keeping everything from affairs to drug scandals out of the public eye. His clients included some of the biggest names of the time, like the Kennedys and Marilyn Monroe. If there was dirt to be found, Otash would dig it up. And if there was dirt that needed to disappear, he made sure it vanished without a trace. The guy had a network of wiretaps, informants, and secret deals that made him invaluable to the studios and stars alike. If you needed to know what was going on in Hollywood, Fred Otash was your man. But more importantly, if you needed a scandal buried, he was the man to call. When it came to legal troubles, no one was better than Jerry Giesler. Hollywood's most notorious defense attorney, Giesler was the man behind some of the biggest courtroom dramas of old Hollywood. He defended Errol Flynn in his infamous statutory rape trial, turned around Charlie Chaplin's paternity case, and helped Lana Turner come out of the Johnny Stompanato murder looking like a grieving mother, not a suspect. Giesler's talent wasn't just in the courtroom. It was in making deals behind the scenes. He wasn't just a lawyer. He was a problem solver. If you were facing the kind of trouble that could end your career, Giesler made sure you came out clean, or at least as clean as possible. Not all fixers operated in the shadows. Johnny Hyde was a talent agent who played the game a little differently. He didn't just manage the careers of stars, he managed their lives. Hyde was the man behind Marilyn Monroe's rise to fame, pulling strings and making sure her image stayed as glamorous as possible. But his role wasn't just about boosting careers. It was about protecting stars from themselves and from the vultures circling overhead. Monroe wasn't the only one to benefit from Hyde's influence. Many stars owed their success and their survival in Hollywood to Hyde's ability to navigate both the business and the personal messes that came with fame. Greg Boutzer, now here, was a lawyer who knew how to keep things quiet. Known as the lawyer to the stars, Boutzer wasn't just about winning cases. He was about preventing them. Boutzer represented some of the biggest names in Hollywood: Lana Turner, Ingrid Bergman, and Howard Hughes, to name a few. But his real skill was in negotiation. He settled scandals before they ever made it to the front page, making sure his clients' reputations stayed intact. Quiet, professional, and fiercely protective of his clients, Boutzer's legacy is one of discretion. If you were in trouble, he made sure no one ever knew. Now let's talk about Henry Wilson, the man behind the lavender marriages of old Hollywood. Wilson wasn't just a talent agent. He was the fixer who protected the personal lives of stars like Rock Hudson and Tab Hunter. In an era when being gay could end a career, Wilson orchestrated marriages to cover up the truth. It wasn't always pretty, and it wasn't always kind, but it kept the careers of his clients afloat. Wilson's tactics may seem harsh by today's standards, but in the world of 1950s Hollywood, they were necessary to survive. His legacy? A complicated one, but there's no doubt he protected his stars, even when it came at a personal cost. Benny Thau, another MGM executive who knew how to keep the stars in line. Thau wasn't just about covering up scandals. He was about managing the personal lives of Hollywood's biggest names. Thau played a key role in handling the romantic entanglements of stars like Clark Gable and Loretta Young. If a relationship needed to be hidden, he made sure it stayed that way. Thau didn't operate with the same flair as Mannix or Strickling, but his quiet power kept MGM stars out of the tabloids and on the silver screen. Sidney Korshak wasn't just Hollywood's lawyer, he was its link to the mob. With connections to organized crime, Korshak had the power to make things disappear, whether it was labor disputes or legal troubles. He negotiated contracts, solved conflicts, and used his influence to make sure Hollywood stars and executives stayed in line. Korshak's work wasn't limited to Hollywood. His reach extended to politics and business, making him one of the most powerful men of his time. If you needed something fixed in Hollywood, and you didn't mind getting your hands a little dirty, Sidney Korshak was the man to call. Finally, we have Warren Cowan, co-founder of Rogers & Cowan, Hollywood's most powerful firm. Cowan wasn't just a publicist, he was a master of media manipulation. Frank Sinatra, Elizabeth Taylor, Kirk Douglas. Cowan managed the biggest names in Hollywood, ensuring that their scandals were either buried or spun into something positive. His legacy, turning the art of PR into a full-blown profession. Without Cowan, the image of the Hollywood star might not have survived the 20th century. Hollywood's golden age may be long gone, but its secrets, well, they might have stayed buried if not for these fixers. They worked behind the scenes, making sure the stars stayed on top, even when their personal lives were falling apart. Think we missed anyone? Let us know in the comments. And remember, what you see on the screen, it's only half the story.